Right, time now for all things Gators, all things orange and blue. Dan Hicken, Frangie, we're back in action. Hick, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, and thank you to Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, the best in the business. They do a terrific job, se-ortho.com, for all your orthopedic needs in Northeast Florida and South Georgia. Oh, man, lots to talk about, Frankie.
Yeah, there really is. We've been kind of tied up with the Jaguars and other stuff, but now we're back to talking Gators. There's all kind of stuff to talk about. So I'm going to start at the top. Give me the state of the football. We'll get to basketball and other things in a minute.
Right.
State of the football program as we sit here on January 24th, in your opinion.
It's a great question, and I'm not sure how to answer it. I think long term, I remain optimistic about Billy Napier. I'm not deterred by a lot of things that have happened. I go back to his recruiting ability, and I'm excited about that. But there are a lot of things that in this new age of college football that we seem to be behind on. And that, as a Gator fan, frustrates the living heck out of me. Like, I don't know why we don't have answers for things that everybody else who are elite seem to have.
Such
as transfer portal, such as not NIL. I call it pay to play because that's what it is. Things of that ilk. It's the new age of college football. I don't think a lot of us like it, but it's here and we got to deal with it. And I don't know that we're dealing with it. And it's been on display, and it's been, quite frankly, an embarrassing time for Florida. And I think that everybody has an opinion on what happened with Jaden Rashada, but I think there has to be some accountability somewhere in the program, and wherever that buck stops, it needs to stop, and we need to fix it.
All right, let's start with let's start with Rashada, because that's what everybody's talking about. So
okay.
We're gonna start with Jaden Rashada. That's what everybody wants to talk about.
Okay.
Somebody messed that up. Whether it was $13 million that somebody in the collective or the guard or representing the guard promised him, and then reneged on it, or whether it was $6 million and then another $7 million had to get added because of the Miami stuff. Who knows? Whatever the deal is, I don't know, and I don't pretend to know. But we know the Rashada thing got messed up. And when you say it's an embarrassing time, you're talking about that, right?
Yes.
I mean, that there's nothing else that's embarrassing other than the fact the team wasn't very good. So the Rashada thing, I don't know what happened with Jaden Rashada. I've read, like you, Dan, I've read and heard 10,000 different explanations.
Right. It's hard to find the truth.
Right.
I have talked to a few people in Gainesville about it because I was so perplexed by it. And I do think that, first off, who in the hell is going to give an 18-year-old kid that much money? I said back in August, you have to pay for 5 stars.
Yeah.
And I agree. And I believe that. And I know that Florida's point of the program was, we'll take care of them when they get here.
Right.
Which is great, except for then why is Ethan White and Tarkin going to USC?
Yeah.
Those aren't bad players. I know you got to clear out some and get some of your own guys, but you don't lose a second-team All-SEC guy to USC. That, to me, that means you're not taking care of the players, or there's more money to be had. But if I'm going to pay $6 million or $7 million, I'm giving it to Caleb Williams to come play quarterback for me. I'm not giving it to some 18-year-old kid who I have no idea if he's any good.
Well, and I think Billy Napier would agree with you. I think this was, and I know he's got to be accountable for it, and he will be accountable for it. But I don't think Billy Napier said, let's give $13 million to Jaden Rashada. I think Billy Napier tried to recruit Jaden Rashada. And again, whether it's the collective or the guard, I don't pretend to know one from the other, and I'm not going to act like I know something I don't. But somebody who doesn't get employed by the University of Florida found a way to commit more dollars to him than they had or than they should have. That's what happened.
Right.
And the fact is that when the Rashada camp, if you will, realized it wasn't getting the money.
But then, Frank, I don't mean to interrupt, but that's when Scott Strickland's got to call in every collective that is out there and sit down and say, this is the way we're going to do it. And if you don't do it, we are not going to associate with you. I know that there is listen, I know there are certain rules, which I say BS to the rules, by the way, because there are no rules. But apparently we're trying to be a little bit more down the rule line, which I think is ridiculous because there's no point in it. And I know there's some rules, but the athletics director has got to get a hold of this and say, look, I know this is new for everybody, but this is how we're going to do it. And I know that they're going to claim, well, we can't know. We're not allowed to know, but we can tell you who we're recruiting. Come on, man.
But don't you sense that by now that's happened?
I would hope so.
I would think by now Scott Strickland and the powers that be at Florida said, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Guard, collective, whoever. Here's what we're doing. Here's what we're not doing.
Yeah.
I think, again, the Jaden Rashada thing. Remember now, this is also a guy that committed to Miami and was going.
And now he's not going to either place, by the way.
And then he flipped on Miami and then committed. So I don't know Jaden, but I got to believe the Rashada camp has some culpability in this.
100%. 100%. But I also don't blame an 18-year-old kid or his family for you want to give me $7 million? Okay, I'll take $7 million. You want to give me $10 million? Okay, I'll take $10 million.
I agree with you. But they got that. But I think the NIL thing, I don't know if Florida's behind, caught up.
It's not NIL, Frank. It's PTP. Please.
No question. I agree with you. But I think the Rashada thing is, I don't think you're going to see another Florida embarrassment with NIL. I agree. I don't think you're going to see that again. I think Rashada goes and plays wherever he wants to go play.
But Frank, why are we behind? Like, why did it happen to us? Like, why?
Well, are we behind, or did we mess up one instance? And I don't know that answer. But
are we behind in the portal?
Well, yeah. I mean, you say that we got 7, 8 guys,
9 guys,
nine guys.
Yeah,
we didn't get as many as some others, but I mean, again, who won the portal? Florida State is great at the portal.
Florida State gets the portal.
But I don't know. But I don't know if that means they got more money coming in. They might.
I don't think so.
They might just be out recruiting. Sometimes people out recruit other people.
I think Florida State's doing it backwards, but it's working for them. So I don't know why they change it. They seem to attack the portal with a recruiting fervor and then fill in with recruiting. And I think that might be the way to go. I don't know.
Well, that's the way. If you're Florida State and you're not able to beat Alabama and Georgia and LSU and recruits, it's the way you have to go.
Right.
Now, I tend to believe Florida in time will start winning the recruiting battles. Here's my take on the state of the portal. The question I asked you when we started this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in my heart of hearts that Billy Napier will build a good roster. Okay. I believe that. I think it was a good recruiting year this year. Maybe it's 12th instead of 8th because Rashada changed. But I think he got what you needed to get. I think he got 5 or 6 defensive linemen. I think in college football, you win with quarterback and defensive line. I've said that forever. And now speed outside. I think he got a couple fast receivers. I think he got 5 or 6 good defensive linemen. I think that's what he needed to get. I think the portal, they filled in the portal with 2 offensive linemen that they badly needed, 3 linebackers that they badly needed, 2 defensive linemen that they badly needed, and a quarterback. I think they got the 9 positions. If you ask me, the only thing I worry about is receiver. I wouldn't have minded a receiver. Look, they got a third-team running back from Tulane this week. I don't know if he's going to play at all, but he gives you depth.
Right.
The only thing I would have liked to have seen them do in the portal that they didn't is a receiver. I would have liked to have seen one veteran receiver.
Right.
Other than that, I think they're okay. So I think they're going to build the roster. So the Rashada thing's behind us.
Right.
It is what it is.
Here's the bigger issue, though, Frank. Here's the issue. You know, and I know, and Billy Napier probably knows they ain't ready next year. They're not ready to compete next year. So you're being a little bit optimistic because it's January. But when I talk to you in October, you're going to be singing a different tune. And so is Gator Nation, because we've said it over and over. 6 and 7 was horrible last year. You lost to freaking Vandy.
Right.
I don't think it's much rosier next year. So I know that Billy Napier thinks, well, I got 4 years here. I hope he does. And I think as long as he recruits number 9 class, number 8 class, we'll get back to 9 or 10 wins. But if I turn around and you say Billy Napier is getting the right guys, I agree. But I bet if I ask you, do you think he can coach those guys, you're going to sing a different tune.
Well, let me ask you this.
Okay.
Are we, Dan, have we gotten to the point now, not just you and me, that, okay, if he has 3 straight 7-win seasons, we fire him?
I hope not. I don't think that's the way to go. I don't. I'm backing Billy, but I'm just telling you, I know my people.
I do too.
Know your people.
And that's the problem. And the problem is, if he has another 7-win season, we say he's the wrong coach.
Yeah.
And then the noise goes in the system.
Yeah.
Then you're look. I watched Tennessee do it.
I know.
I watched Tennessee run through coaches because he fire him.
But you know what happens if you get rid of Billy Napier? DJ Lagway ain't coming. Okay,
correct.
So then you're starting over again.
You're preaching to the choir. I think you need to sit back and say, listen, he's got 4 years. I don't care if he goes 3 and 9 the next 2 years.
Right.
He's got 4 years to build it.
I hope you're right, but it's okay. It's okay to be, we want them to win, man.
Right, right.
And when they don't do something that we don't think is right, we got to say we don't think it's right.
No question. And if they're bad coaching, but we have to stop. We're going to fire the coach.
Yes,
because I don't think he won enough games. And so
if Anthony Richardson had stayed in Gainesville, this would be very different. And I don't blame the kid. He's going to be a first-round pick. They're all right about him. He's too, because his stock is only going to rise. So God bless Anthony Richardson. Good for him. But boy, it sure would have been nice to have him for another year. And I think that would help also. I think in this crazy world, okay, Frank, I think there is you got to pay more if you're not going to be a winning program. There's like a loser premium you got to pay as well, because you got to entice the kids to come. If Anthony Richardson had stayed, he'd be a little more of a Pied Piper, I think.
Yeah, I do too. But I think, look, I wish Anthony Richardson would stay. I think he's going to be, and I love the fact he's going to the first round, and he's a wonderful kid. I hope he makes millions and millions and millions of dollars. Okay. Right. But I almost think sometimes the new regime needs the new. I can remember, and you do too, when Emmitt Smith had to decide whether to come out or not.
Yeah.
And Emmitt Smith came out early. Back then, juniors didn't all come out. Okay.
Right.
But he came out, and there was the talk that even Emmitt was concerned that Steve Spurrier didn't work hard enough to keep him. Now, I don't know if that's true. I think Steve and Emmitt get along fine now, and I don't know the story behind the story, but I do know it felt like it was time for new. That's no knock on Emmitt Smith.
No.
But it was time for the new. It was Steve Spurrier knew what he wanted to do, and he brought in the new. And again, Steve and Emmitt's relationship, I think, is fine. I don't think there's any negative there at all.
I agree.
But it was
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So
I like that. And I think Spurrier, I think Spurrier's attitude is probably, Spurrier's attitude was, we'd love to have you, Emmitt, but if you're not going to be here, we'll be just fine.
And I remember when Spurrier was the coach when Emmitt came out,
I
think he said, hey, we wish him the very best. And I think he does. Well, I almost think there's something. I think Billy Napier needs the new.
Yeah,
that's the guys that he recruited. And again, I'm not trying to chase off Anthony Richardson, but he's gone.
Right.
So I think
in the short term, though, Frank, it's going to make it really tough for Florida next season. I mean, I'm looking at power polls and such, and it's early, but recruiting's done, portal's about done, and you're looking to see in Florida with double digits next to its name. That is unfathomable for us to understand.
I can tell you this.
Yeah,
Spurrier's first year there in 1990, Florida was unranked to start the season. We forget. Did you know that?
Yes.
They were unranked.
He's told me that many times, because then they beat Okie State and they got ranked and never left the rankings again. I don't think
unranked to start the season, and people forget that. So you got to build it. All right, let me ask you this, okay?
Yes, sir.
By the way, I'm a campaign manager. Did you know I was a campaign manager?
I did not, but you're doing well.
Yeah, I wear a lot of hats,
Yeah, apparently.
I'll bet you if Sam Hartman had come, you'd be over the moon.
Yeah, I bet you're right.
Okay. You'd be over the moon.
Yeah.
Graham Mertz is coming. You could give a damn.
Well, I mean, I give a damn. I need experience. I mean, he's QB1. I mean,
but you would have been excited about Hartman.
Oh yeah,
not excited about Mertz. Is that
that's fair? Yeah,
and that's where Gator Nation is, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe worse than me.
How much have you or Gator Nation watched of Graham Mertz?
I watched a highlight package where he handed the ball off a lot. I saw Wisconsin play a little bit.
You didn't watch him. You didn't watch. Neither did I.
He had a great first game at Wisconsin, and he came in much ballyhooed, and he didn't live up to the expectation. That's the best way I could describe him. But I wish him nothing but success and well. Yeah.
Will you indulge me?
Yes.
Will you indulge me?
Yes.
Will you give me 2 minutes to be the campaign manager?
I will, but I might jump in because I'm hot today. I'm hot.
You do tend to jump in, but I
may jump in, but I'll let you go.
All right. So he goes. He's a heralded recruit. He goes to Wisconsin. Okay. Then his numbers are pretty mediocre in Wisconsin. Well, the reality is when Paul Chryst was there for all 7 years, the quarterbacks all had the same numbers. The bottom line is they're still running a two backs under center. 1984 offense. They're running the offense Galen Hall ran. That's the reality. Okay, they're running the same offense. And they don't spread. They don't shotgun very often, and that's why they lost. And that's why the guy got fired. And if you look at all the quarterbacks, they all had similar numbers. Now here's this big arm guy who's more athletic than you think that comes along and has the same numbers as everybody else. He started 32 games as a Big Ten quarterback. He won 19 of those games. His last year had 19 touchdowns and 10 picks. In an I formation under center offense. And now a 6'3", 225-pound big arm guy has 2 years of eligibility, by the way, gets to play in a spread for the first time. Now, maybe he'll suck. I have no idea, Dan. but I don't think. I think people haven't even seen him. So you know what I did? Because I'm this kind of guy, because I researched. Dad, I'm all about research. I'm all about research. I went and watched clips, okay? I watched clips of Graham Mertz. I think he's pretty good. Now, I don't think he's great. I don't have him going to New York. I don't think he's going to be in the Heisman race, but I'll bet you he's better than anybody expects him to be. The problem is we got excited about Michael Pratt, the Tulane guy, because we heard the staff really likes him and they won 11 games last year. And we got excited about Sam Hartman because we watched him, we know how good he is. Nobody got excited about this guy because he wasn't on the radar. And if a guy that's not on the radar and has mediocre numbers at a bad team, we think he must suck.
You're on the, that's well said. You're on the Graham tram, yes, I guess. Yes, but I'm going to tell you this. But I was going to jump in when you started saying, well, they ran a 2-back 1984. What the hell do we run?
Yeah. Well, we're in a shotgun at least. And can I have a shotgun?
What the hell do we run?
So let me tell you what I did, Dan. I went and got clips. Now I gave Graham
clips, people.
I get Graham M.
Yeah.
Who's going to be our quarterback.
Yeah.
And Graham M., who is our editor for this podcast.
Yes.
See what I did there?
Did you give him clips?
I gave him clips.
We got clips to run?
Hopefully, as I'm talking now.
Clips are running.
You're watching.
Ooh, look at that throw.
Because that's the kind of research I do, Dan. It's what I do around here. Okay.
What a play against Indiana.
Okay. I think it was Northwestern, actually. I couldn't do the good teams because they lost all those games.
Now listen, I'm 100%. I'm rooting for the kid. I hope he does a great job. I'm a little bit, okay, that's fine. It's not the guy anybody wanted. Right. It was a kind of a, surprise guy. But you know what? Listen, Billy, the trust factor is waning a bit. We got a lot of work to do.
Early for it to wane? Isn't it early for the trust to wane?
When you lose to Vandy, the trust factor waned.
Yeah,
when you lose to Vandy, the trust factor waned.
Yeah, my good point. My concern last year was play calling. It looked
correct. It
play
was
calling and game management. So
right.
I want to give myself the benefit of the give him the benefit of the doubt and say, listen, let him at least get guys he handpicked.
That's fair. I'm fine with that.
These guys that he handpicked, and so I think. So I really believe this. I'm going to encourage Gator fans, go to YouTube and watch some. I think the guy's a better player than people think. And he was
you better go to YouTube because you're probably not going to Utah.
Right.
Because that's probably not going to turn out real well.
Well, you don't know
or
that
you.
Yet. But anyway, but I'll say this. So here, let me give you the real pro and con.
Yes, sir.
The pro of this guy, Mertz, seriously, is he's a talented guy,
experienced,
and played a lousy offense, and maybe in a spread he might be pretty good. That's the pro.
Okay.
The fair con is I don't care what offense you were in. You had 4 years and you never elevated them. A great quarterback will elevate his team, and he clearly never did that. And so that speaks to he may be mediocre because he never did that. So but now I think the offensive lineman from Baylor is pretty good.
Yeah, he is.
The offensive lineman from Alabama is going to help them. I think I'm told.
Well, you took a gut punch losing a couple of those guys who you had penciled in because you thought you were going to have a pretty good offensive line with a lot of continuity coming back to help those running backs who are really talented in the strength of your team. And now they're going, listen, it's tough to be the coach of Florida. It is so tough. Yeah. I mean, you got to, and I tell you, this may be unfair, but old Nape's got to do one thing for me next year. He's got to beat one of them damn rivals.
Yeah.
You got to knock off a Tennessee, or you got to knock off an LSU, or you got to knock off FSU, or you got to knock off Georgia, dare I say, which is going to be hard to do. But that's kind of what's facing him.
But I will say this, two things. Now, first of all, I agree. Of all the guys that left, of every one of them, the one, Anthony Richardson included, because I thought he should have left, he did the right thing.
Okay.
The two that bothered me the most are Tarkin and White. I agree with you.
Yeah.
The rest of them, I didn't care.
Yeah.
The two that bothered me the most, because I thought they're two pretty good players, and they're both going to USC. So, but other than that, they did bother me. Let me go back to FSU for a second.
Okay.
If Mike Norvell gets there, it looks like a disaster. They lose to Jacksonville State on the last play of the game at home.
Yeah.
They can't even get to 500. It looks terrible. But because Florida State has no money, because their coffers are down, they had no choice. They got to keep him. Well, look what happened, Dan. Yeah. Because they had to because they couldn't run him out as quickly as they ran out Taggart. Looks like he might be pretty good. I'm not ready to put him in the Coaches Hall of Fame yet.
Me either.
But they're going to start the season in the top 10. That's a fact. Okay.
Yes.
So it looks like he's done a pretty, maybe not great, but he's done a pretty good job.
Well, I'll just say this, but I ain't going to spend any more time on FSU, but they better win the ACC next year, because this is you got a 7th year quarterback back who's pretty talented kid. It's your time. And so,
so back to our guys.
Yes,
I think Napier is I still believe he's the next big thing. That is my opinion.
All right.
I still think I think he knows what he's doing.
Okay.
Some of the play calling bothered me, but he inherited a quarterback that, as good as Anthony Richardson is, we know he had flaws. We know there's times he didn't see things develop. We know there's times he missed open guys. We're being naive if we don't admit that.
Right.
And now he's going to get to handpick his guys. I don't think they're going to be great next year. I think they're going to win 7 or 8 games next year, maybe 9. But I think they might. But I think you might start seeing the
Frank. If you win 9 games, we're throwing a parade down University Avenue, buddy. Come on.
The best offensive players they had last year: Osiris Torrance, Ricky Pearsall, and the 2 running backs, Montrell Johnson and Trevor Etienne, are guys that he handpicked.
Yep.
Okay, so now there's more guys that he handpicked that are going to be on that team.
Yeah,
and I believe that. So I have not lost confidence. I think they're going to be better than people think.
Good.
I think he's going to get it built. I do think it's going to take a while. I do think that. I do think when he first got there, I thought he'd have a top 5 recruiting class his second year and be winning 9 or 10 games his second year. I no longer think that. But I hope we don't run off a guy that I think is the right guy.
I don't think we're going to run off the guy. I mean, that's kind of ridiculous. But I do need, I need a little more from Strickland. I need him a little stand up. I need him to give, say, look, Gator Nation, you got to settle down. This is our guy. We're running with this guy. I think that, a little more, here's what happened with the NIL, or here's where we're, give us some information, let people know what's happening. We're not doing anything untoward down there.
And that's a great, I really like Scott, but that's a great point. Let's say, listen, here's what you need to know. I agree with that. Here's what you need to know. But again, final thought on football is for next year, this guy, Graham Mertz, he better be good, because there's no options.
There are no options.
Jack Miller clearly isn't ready. He'll be better. There's nobody else. Max Brown is a project.
Playing baseball.
So there's no other options. Okay. It's those guys are walk-ons. So we need, just to get us to the following year when Lagway, maybe he comes in and plays as a freshman. But for now, they need Graham Mertz to be a good player. The period. They need him. We can spend all off season. They didn't get Hartman. They didn't get Pratt. We got to settle for this guy. But we need this guy we had to settle for to be a good player.
Agreed.
And if he is, we'll see what happens. So
all right, we're only going to spend a couple minutes because we went hard here on football, and but we'll be back now weekly. So, but I would be remiss if the basketball reporter didn't give me an update on the state of the program, because I'll tell you this: basketball is doing fine, but it ain't gymnastics. We are a gymnastics powerhouse, people.
We are.
Get behind chasing a natty there, but go ahead.
For basketball, I don't know what to think. I don't think they're very good. I don't. But they scrapped their way to some wins. Okay. If they had only, I think they're going to beat South Carolina. We're taping this on Tuesday. They play tomorrow. If they beat South Carolina, they're what then? 6-3 in the league, or something like that. 5 in the league.
It'll be their 5th win, and then things get dicey. Frank, they're going to be playing like 2, 3, and 4 in the country in succession.
Then it's going to be very hard.
And Kentucky after that.
So here's what I'll tell you. I haven't seen enough of Todd Golden now to have a good opinion. Right. I don't think the team's very good this year. I think that's more a bad roster than it is bad coaching. I think I think maybe Castleton gets a look in the G League because he plays hard and he's 6'11". He could be at the end of a bench in the NBA one day, but I don't think there's any NBA players on that team. I think there's a reason these guys were at Belmont and VMI and St. Bonaventure and on the bench at LSU. I think he's got to show that he can recruit good players. And I don't have a good feel for that yet. I think they're a mediocre program. I don't think they're gonna get to 500 in the league. Remember, they've only missed 500 in the league one time in the last 25 years, Dan. 25 years, and that was Billy's last team when all those guys left, all those 14s left.
Well, they're gonna need to pull an upset here coming up, because they got Kentucky twice. They've got, like you said, and they got Tennessee and they got Alabama coming up after South Carolina. So they're gonna have to find a dub somewhere in there.
Hopefully gymnastics wins it all.
Thank you, friend.
You're the gymnastics guy.
Thank you very much.
After watching football and basketball, I hope baseball's good. That's what I'm here to tell you.
Amen to that. And I think they will be, by the way.
We're back. All things Gators, all things. We apologize for the delay, but we had all this NFL stuff. But now we're back on a weekly basis. Dan Hicken and Frank Frangie.
And thank you, Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, se-ortho.com, for all your orthopedic needs. Frank, it's good to catch up with you. We'll talk Gators again next week.
See you, Hick.
All right, bud.